I'm Lisa and I will be going over the webinar part 4 with you tonight. So first up we're going to do an acknowledgement of country. 30-foot drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their beliefs and their cultures, both to the elders, both past and present. 30-foot drop funding. 30-foot drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities, Disability Services for funding this event and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as the Two Wise Monkeys project wouldn't see the light of day and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community. So we thank them very much. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-foot drop as part of an Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 2019. Housekeeping. I'm just going to go over some housekeeping on how we run our workshops. So, unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor all of the live streaming platforms. So if you are watching from Facebook or our YouTube platform and you want to send me a message, you'll just need to jump onto the link below this video, which is www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Jump into the live box and you can send me a direct message. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we ask attendees to try and minimise any distractions. I know that's quite hard in this current time. You may have a little distraction with me, my kids may walk in, but you know, we can only do our best. And grab a pen and paper, grab something that you might want to use to take notes with. If you know anyone as well that might benefit from these webinars, please share this information with them and let them know that this is a 6-part series. Every webinar is different and will benefit different businesses for different reasons. We also record the session, so if you wanted to go back on anything, you can rewind this webinar once I have hit the end button. At the end of the webinar, we do have a short survey, which we would be really grateful if you guys could fill it out for us, because the more feedback we can get, the better we can make changes within the community. Okay, so let me introduce myself. I am Lisa and I am Hear No Evil. The other monkey is Ben and he is See No Evil. He is the director of the Two Wise Monkeys workshops, and the reason why he started these projects was because he has lived both lives where he's had a disability and he's lived without a disability. So he realised once he had his disability that people just aren't educated enough. People just don't know enough about how to treat people with disability, how to make their business or service accessible or more inclusive. So hence why we do the Two Wise Monkeys workshops. So we do the webinars and we also do live workshops with businesses and services wanting to improve their business. So for me, my story, I was born 10 weeks premature. So I was born at 30 weeks. Sorry, I can just hear my child. Just wait a minute please. I'm just going to tell my child to quieten down. One moment please. Sorry about that. Don't know if you could hear her or not, but I didn't really want there to be any noise in case you could hear her. So yeah, I was born at 30 weeks premature. And with premature births there can be complications around when the baby's born or later in life, and one of the things that came up for me was dyslexia. So at the age of 8, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia, which sometimes can be related to premature births and not reaching the proper milestones. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks, yell at me in front of my classmates, making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. But despite those challenges growing up, I was determined to prove them wrong. And luckily for me, at the age of 13, I realised that I was actually good at something. I could draw and paint better than some of my classmates. So I got 90% for art, 90-something% for photography. So I did really well in the creative part of school. So if you know someone that does suffer from a learning disability, just let them know that they will have something that they will be good at. It's just a matter of finding that passion and following that dream. It doesn't matter if you're not the most amazing mathematician or speller. There are things that you will be good at, and hopefully you can follow your dreams within those passions that you have. But don't let anything stop you. And I've worked all around the world with an arts degree and also a degree in working with fine art and museum grade artwork. I've done picture framing for 12 years, gallery work for 12 years, and I also have a counselling degree. So that brings me to why I'm here with Ben. I love to help people and show empathy and sympathy to their situations. And yeah, those are the reasons why I'm with Ben today. So, when you look at the monkeys, isn't there normally supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? As you can see behind me, we have Speak No Evil. Who is Speak No Evil? You guys can take a little guess. Yes, you guys. The aim of today's workshop is to turn you into that wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realising, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be treated in the same way as every other human being. So it's a really important message. We all need to be treated equally and fairly, no matter your impairment or your disability. Now we're going to go, and if you are interested in purchasing one of these gorgeous Speak No Evil t-shirts, they are available in black and white on our website, and they range from size 5 kids size to adult size 5XL. So if you wanted to get one of those, head over to the website. Now I'm going to go over the outline and method of this particular webinar. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and how you can increase your business by attracting them. We'll be looking at 3 areas of need that most businesses can improve and use to tap into this market. These are accessibility, universal design, and diverse marketing. After covering all of this good stuff, we will then finish up with an open forum. So that means you can send any messages into me at the end and we can talk about them. Or you can, of course, send any to me along the way. So how are we going to cover this? And what is our teaching method? The answer is fun, open, honest discussion. If we can't be open and honest about disability and impairment and about the changes that need to be made and access issues or inclusive issues, then nothing's going to change. So let's be open and honest with businesses. If they're not meeting your needs, let them know. Let them know about these workshops so that they can become more educated. You'll notice that there's very little written content on the slides, and that is because we firstly do not believe in death by PowerPoint, and it also makes it easy for people that are deaf or have a vision impairment, easy to follow. There's not too much wording on there, it's not complicated. And if you are having a hearing issue, you can't hear me properly, head over to the platform Facebook and you can turn the sound down and you will get subtitles, which is an amazing thing that Facebook have done. And let's hope that other platforms follow this amazing new thing. Okay. So, terminology. I'm now going to go over some terminology and some wording that people quite often get mixed up. They are the difference between disability and impairment and the difference between access and inclusion. To reduce confusion and understanding, I want to review some of the terminology that we'll be using in this section. First up, I'm going to talk about impairment. Impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of psychological and or physiological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my medical diagnosis is mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others. Sorry, my iPad just jumped then. On an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So a disability is unable to access or participate. Okay, so an example for me would be too much wording, complex information, stylized script can sometimes make it hard for people with dyslexia or a learning disability to understand, which then makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your business or service. Now, this is especially important information to know because some people's impairments are hidden and they're not getting that information that they need, so they are potentially walking away from your business or service because something is too complicated. So you're losing money. Right, so let's go over access versus inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be assessed with a checklist. And if you are wondering if your business or service is accessible, then you can jump onto our link below and have a look under resources, and you will see that we have an accessibility checklist. And something I forgot to mention before, if you wanted to go into more detail into anything that we talk about on the webinars, we've got a resource link to all the information that we cover, but in more detail. So if you want to look further into any information, it's all on our website. So that is access. You can find the checklist on our website. You can check whether your door frames are wide enough for people in a wheelchair, people with a mobility issue. Are your door frames at a level where people can reach them? Are they easy to open? Are your doors too heavy? You know, there's all these little things that businesses may not be aware of, where someone with an impairment or disability actually can't even get into your business because of the accessible issues. So, next is inclusion. Inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is the process whereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, sexual preference, religion, or nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else in the community. Such an important message, no matter how you appear, where you're from, your disability, your impairment, everyone deserves to be included and accepted. We're all human, we're all the same, and we're all equal. I hope that that all makes sense. If you do have any questions, please jump over to the link below this video and send any questions. Now we will be getting into tonight's info. Okay, how to tap into the market and increase your accessibility within your business or service. As mentioned in the overview, there are 3 strategies that businesses can use to tap into the market. These are accessibility, universal design, and marketing. They can be used individually but are best used concurrently. Let's go over these. Accessibility. What do you think of when someone asks you about accessibility? Well, you think of wheelchair ramps, you think of aquad bays, you think of accessible toilets. These are all good examples, but they're just the physical side of accessibility. There are so many other ways businesses can be more accessible. So let's have a look at some other things that you might want to look at within your business to make it more accessible for customers and meet their needs. Okay, first up, we will go over information. Make sure your information is accessible. It is important not to make assumptions about how people can receive or communicate information. The best approach is to make important information available to consumers in a variety of formats. Options for this can include speaking directly on the phone, person to person. And in case of people who are deaf, you can use the telephone typewriter National Relay Service, which is the TTY service. Now with this is when a person who has a hearing impairment or is deaf types a message to the TTY operator, and that message is then conveyed to the person that the message is for. And a reply is then sent back to the person with the impairment in the same way. So that's an amazing thing for someone with a hearing impairment or someone who is deaf. They're still able to make phone calls and communicate, just like we all can. So that's awesome. Also, please include a hard copy written material, which includes a large font, say for instance size 18, nice big font, so that people that do have vision impairments can see what's on your menu, can see what's on your business or service information, websites or paperwork. You could include electronic formats, including email, websites, and online chat services. You could have information on a USB for people, or make an audio recording. Businesses could also consider installing an audio loop in their public shop fronts or offices to assist people with hearing aids, or even think about providing an Auslan interpreter or Braille on request. So having all these options available within your business, or having a phone number for an Auslan interpreter, or having information made into Braille paperwork, will help everyone feel included, so that you know what the answer is if someone comes in who has a hearing impairment. You can go, well, yes, let me get my Auslan interpreter in. We can organise that for you so that you can participate and you can be part of this event or this service or this business. Okay, next up is maintaining an accessible premises. An accessible designed premises is great, but if it's not maintained, it can be disastrous and in some cases be dangerous. Here are some issues to be aware of. Now, I need to go and check on my children again. Please excuse me. Be back in a minute. Sorry about that. Fighting over a toy. Okay, so an accessible premises. So it needs to be maintained in order to stop it from being disastrous or dangerous. Here are some issues to be aware of. Do not lock accessible bathrooms or lifts while the premises are in use by members of the public. Ensure accessible bathrooms can be reached via a continuous accessible path of travel. If you don't make sure your business is inclusive, then people with a disability or impairment are going to feel unwanted in your business, especially when the toilets are locked. Do not use accessible bathrooms or change rooms as storage areas. Avoid constructing displays or stacking goods in a manner which obstruct the aisles. Make sure there is a continuous accessible path of travel around and within your premises. Make sure that counter heights, lift buttons, EFTPOS facilities, and door handles, for example, are within reach of a person using a wheelchair or someone who has short stature. Ensure that lift buttons have raised tactile and braille information next to them, and that lifts provide audible information telling the passengers what floor they have arrived at. Maintain adequate lighting levels throughout the premises. Provide clear and easy to read signage for people with an impairment accessing or using your premises. Do not allow surfaces to become dangerously worn or slippery. Provide designated parking spaces for people with disabilities and maintain a continuous accessible path of travel from the parking space to the premises. Okay, so that is the head to transport. If your business provides transport, here are some options to be aware of. Ensure information relevant to passengers with an impairment is provided on your transport services website. Such information may include specific booking procedures, requirements for passengers with an impairment, location of accessible bus and train stops, timing of accessible services, and access features. Make sure your booking forms and mobile apps are accessible to people with an impairment. Provide training to your frontline staff on the delivery of accessible transport to passengers with an impairment. Take steps to inform booking agents, travel agents, or tour guides of relevant considerations for people with an impairment. For example, their fitness to travel, impairment equipment, restrictions, and access features. Mobility devices. Under the Disability Discrimination Act, it may be against the law for an owner or manager of a shop, restaurant, club, or other venue to refuse entry to someone who uses a scooter or wheelchair as an impairment aid. It also may be against the law to restrict this person to only certain parts of the premises. An example of this is small shops who restrict mobility due to large amounts of stock, which is illegal. Businesses should consider the needs of consumers who use scooters and wheelchairs as a mobility aid when shops have too much stock on the floor. The general tips for maintaining an accessible premises mentioned in the earlier section of this resource also apply to people who use mobility devices, and if customers can't get in the door, they are not likely to spend money. Good point. Assistance animals. Let's now go over assistance animals. Be aware that a guide dog is only one form of an assistance animal, and there are other assistance animals, such as those who assist people with hearing disabilities and mental health conditions. If you are unsure if an animal is an assistance animal, the law says it is okay to ask the person to provide some evidence that the animal is an assistance animal and has been trained to meet the standards of hygiene and behaviour appropriate for an animal in a public place. If you're unsure whether the animal is an assistance animal, ask the person before asking them to leave the premises or leave the animal outside. Provide your frontline staff with information and training on assistance animals so that they are educated. Okay. Increasing accessibility of online content. The internet is by far the favoured way for consumers to get information about goods and services. The research is often done prior to the consumer physically visiting your storefront. So by making your information accessible, you will encourage more customers to engage. Here are some following options to keep in mind. Material that is only presented in image-based format, such as GIF or TIFF, will not be accessible to people with an impairment that use screen readers because they can't interpret them. Use plain fonts that are easy to read. Avoid fonts that are too decorative or stylized. Make sure that there is enough contrast between foreground text and background colors so that the text is easy to read. Do not provide content only in a PDF format because screen readers can't read this. If you do include PDFs, provide the same information in Word or HTML format. Make sure you include text descriptions for all non-text content, including images and graphs, for example, using the ALT text function. Avoid scanned pictures of a text, photo of a menu, text boxes as well. Screen readers cannot read these. Provide captions or transcript for multimedia, for audio and video content. Do not set your audio or video content to play automatically when the page is loaded because this can once again affect the screen readers. If you use Capture, make sure that there are alternatives available. Make sure that all the content on your website can be navigated by keys on the keyboard, which does not require a mouse. Make technical support available to consumers who need assistance using your website via an online chat session, phone call or email. Test the accessibility of your website and where necessary speak to an accessibility professional. All this helps to meet the needs of more customers to come and use your business. Okay, next is planning events. We'll be covering accessible tourism and events by looking at the opportunities in greater detail tomorrow and on Tuesday of the part 5 and 6 of the webinar. These tips that we're going to go over now are specifically pointed at the physical event. When planning events, including meetings, festivals, conferences, lectures and fundraisers, you need to take all the reasonable steps to ensure the event is accessible so that people with an impairment can attend and participate. Considerations should be given to the issues raised of each of the earlier sections of this workshop in addition to the following. Explain the accessibility of your venue on the invitation registration form and request attendees inform you of any accessibility requirements that they may have. Examples of what you could include: access, process, maps or maps for people with an impairment. Explain the accessibility and use maps for people in wheelchairs. Make sure all material is available in a handout and electronic format when requested. Additionally, the following considerations could be made when using a venue. Make sure there is sufficient, clear, simple and visible signage to direct people where to go. Ensure the venue is large enough to set out in such a way that people with an impairment, including people using mobility devices or wheelchairs, can move freely around the event when the venue is full. When setting up seating arrangements and allocations, allow people with an impairment a choice of seating, including options of a clear view of the stage and speaker platforms. This is particularly important information for people who are deaf or have a hearing impairment. That ensure that presenters are also aware of this and that they may want to look at using PowerPoints or videos in their presentations. They also need to provide the same information in a format which is accessible for people who have a vision or hearing impairment. For example, speakers could provide oral descriptions of PowerPoint slides, provide hard copies, electronic and audio copies of material ahead of the event, or use captioning or Auslan interpreters during a presentation, which is becoming more and more popular, and that's really, really cool to see. Brief the venue and registration staff about their responsibility to avoid discriminating against people with a disability or impairment, and about any access issues such as allowing people into the venue who have an assistance animal. Brief staff of the location of accessible toilets and other accessible features, and have handouts available for the accessible features. This information could be provided to staff in the event in writing or in a briefing session before the event starts. You could also appoint a staff member that is responsible for addressing any accessibility questions or issues that arise on the day of the event, and make sure that all staff working at the event know who that person is. Okay, that is events. Let's now head into what is universal design. So all of the tips to increase accessibility are great, but what is even better than a solution if the problem didn't exist in the first place? Universal design is a great way to make your organisation amazingly accessible, and is cheaper, faster and visually more appealing than fixing it later. So what is universal design? Universal design is the design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood and used to the greatest extent possible by all people, regardless of their age, size, ability or impairment. In short, it is when society designs with everyone in mind. Staff at all levels can contribute to universal design, from small changes on a single product or service to designing holistic experiences for customers. Business case for universal design. When done right, universal design is more than just catering for customers with an impairment. It can have the following business benefits: increased market reach. A universally designed product will be usable, accessible and appealing to a wider customer base. Enhanced customer satisfaction and retention. A satisfied customer will tell other people about the product, service or environment, increasing awareness and potentially creating new customers for your business. Market crossover success. Products that are aimed at specific target groups can sometimes generate interest and demand from unforeseen markets. The OXO Good Grips range are kitchen products. These products are especially designed for older people with arthritis or people with mobility issues in their limited hand movements. This kind of out-of-the-box thinking can generate widespread demand. I have one of these OXO hand grip can openers. I didn't even realise that that was what it was made for, but I can see now it's so easy to use. It's big and chunky, easy to turn, it's not fiddly and a pain. It's just easy, simple, and it will last forever. So it also positive public image. A business that is positively contributes to society by incorporating universal design approach is likely to receive a reputation of having a high level of corporate social responsibility. Increased consumer expectations. In recent decades, the voice of the general public has become more prominent and more influential. Universal design enables companies to design products, services, and environments that are more closely matched with consumers' expectations and needs. Adapt at first use. A consumer forms an opinion about a product at first use, or even at first sight. A recent study suggested that internet users take less than 50 milliseconds, that's 1/20th of a second, to judge the visual appearance of a website. Not long, guys. If a first impression is negative, a consumer is not likely to purchase your product. If a product is simple, clear, and easy to access, a consumer will be more likely to proceed with the transaction. Okay, achieving universal design. The most efficient way to achieving universal design is collaborating with the employees that have an impairment. They can guide the process with their experience. There are also 7 principal topics to note when striving for universal design. They are equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, size and space for approach and use. Let's go over these. Equitable use. The design should be useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. Guidelines. Provide the same means of use for all users, identical where possible, equivalent when not. For example, ramps instead of stairs is identical. Ramps and stairs is equivalent. Avoid segregating or stigmatizing any users, like having a wheelchair access through the kitchen. Not cool. And so degrading. Provisions for privacy, security and safety should be equal to all users and make the design appealing to all users. Flexibility in use. The design accommodates a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. An example of this is using flashing lights with sirens and beeping sounds to give warnings in emergency situations. This way, people with reduced hearing and sight are both getting the information that they need to stay safe and could save lives. Guidelines. Provide choice in methods of use. Accommodate right and left-handed access and use, facilitate the user's accuracy and precision, provide adaptability to the user's pace. Simple and intuitive use. The use of design is easy. Make sure the use of design is easy to understand, regardless of the user's experience, knowledge, language skill, or current concentration level. An example here is the universal male and female symbols on a bathroom door. They are easier to understand than stylized script. Every single person, no matter where they're from, their impairment, disability, we all know what those figures mean. Okay, guidelines. Eliminate unnecessary complexity. So you really don't need stylized script. Complicated. Be consistent with user expectations and intuition. Accommodate a wide range of literacy and language skills. Arrange information consistent with its importance. Provide effective prompting and feedback during and after completion. Perceptible information. The design communicates necessary information effectively to the user, regardless of the ambient conditions or the user's sensory abilities. An example here is raised tactile indicators. Not only do these warn people with a vision impairment, but they also alert people with an up-and-coming hazard. A lot of people don't know what these are for, and hopefully today you are understanding what they are for. They are not just decorative things, arty things in the concrete, which is what I thought they were for. They are to help people with vision impairments know when there's a hazard. There's a road coming up, there's a bus stop here, there's a hazard here, so people know to stop, which is awesome, and you're going to notice them everywhere now. Okay, guidelines for these. Use different modes, pictorial, verbal, and tactile, for redundant presentation of essential information. Provide adequate contrast between essential information and its surroundings. Maximize essential information. Make it easy to give instructions or directions. Provide capability with a variety of techniques or devices used by people with sensory limitations. Number 5 is tolerance for error. The design minimizes hazards and adverse consequences of an accidental or unintended action. Example: guards and handrails on ramps provide a tolerance for error when using a ramp. Guidelines. Arrange elements to minimize hazards and errors. Most used elements, most accessible hazardous elements, eliminated, isolated, or shielded. Provide warning of hazards and errors. Provide fail-safe features. Discourage unconscious actions and tasks that require vigilance. Number 6, low physical effort. The design can be used efficiently and comfortably with minimum fatigue. An example here is installing a lever door handle, which means that it can be opened using an elbow or closed fist, benefiting people with shopping bags as well as people with limited mobility in their hands where they can't turn the door handle. A lever will be easy for everyone. Guidelines. Allow user to maintain a neutral body position, because some people in wheelchairs can't necessarily turn right around to be able to open a door. You need to make it nice and easy for everyone to use. Use reasonable operation forces, minimise repetitive actions, and minimise sustained physical effort. A heavy door isn't going to be easy for someone to open with a physical a disability or an impairment. Physical disability or impairment. Okay, size and space. Appropriate size and space is provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and use, regardless of the user's body size, posture, or mobility. An example of this: accessibility parking spaces are designed with a shared area and placed closer to the building entrance to allow people with mobility issues and access devices. Guidelines. Provide a clear line of sight to important elements for seated and standing users. Make components reachable and comfortable for any seated or standing user. Accommodate various hand and grip sizes. Provide adequate space for the use of assistive devices or personal assistants. Okay, now we're going to look at diverse marketing. Okay, let me first explain what diverse marketing is. First, let me explain. 50 years ago, a company could be successful in marketing when using the WASPs, White Anglo-Saxon Protestants, since they represented most of the consumer market. Eventually, some companies realized that businesses' potential of marketing worked with populations as well, and several efforts at multicultural marketing were attempted, but a company could still experience success without it. Today, however, marketing is decidedly different. The Australian population has grown increasingly diverse, and if trends continue, today's minority groups will make up the majority of the population around sometime in 2040. This general market strategy may already no longer be effective in some contexts, requiring organisations to diversify their marketing strategies. Customers in different cultures have different values, experiences, expectations, and ways of interacting. Even within a culture, such differences will be apparent between different subgroups, not just ethnically, but also age, gender, profession, religion, family size, physical environment, and more. Diverse marketing involves acknowledging that marketing and advertising must offer alternative ways of communication to other diverse groups. With that knowledge, diversity marketers aim to develop a mix of different communication methods in order to reach people in each of the diverse groups presented in the market. Diverse marketing is essential. Marketing is the process of how a business, product or service promotes its key features and benefits its customers, which ultimately generates sales for the business by satisfying its customers' needs. Powerful. On average, we're exposed to around 5,000 ads per day, ranging from TV all the way down to print and branding and sponsorship. Advertising is everywhere and continues to be a powerful medium for persuasion and changing attitudes. Connection. By representing people with an impairment in their advertising, companies connect more strongly with customers with an impairment, as well as their families and friends. It also demonstrates support for human diversity in a broader sense. Diverse marketing ideas. There are three main ways to diversify your marketing methods. These are inclusive marketing, thematic marketing, and pride marketing. Let's now look at inclusive marketing. This method does not emphasize disability, rather it neutralizes it by incorporating people with a disability in images and messages. These people are just another customer enjoying your product who just so happens to have a disability. Here is an amazing example of this. Seems to be playing. I'll just try that again. Strange. Let's see if the next one works. Very odd. It's never done that before. So what that video was there was a lady in a wheelchair with short stature, talking to her friends, eating Maltesers, you know, having a good laugh and everything. And it was just showing that she is just another customer enjoying Maltesers just like everyone else, who just so happens to have a disability, put simply. So that ad was it's really awesome. It's funny, it's got humour. We all love chocolate and Maltesers, so we can all enjoy it. And you know, it's just, yeah, she has a disability and she's just another customer, just the same as anyone else. So that is that ad, and hopefully if you wanted to watch it, you might be able to go back to my webinar that I did this morning and just fast forward to almost the end, and you should be able to watch it. I have no idea why that's not working. Hopefully the next one works, because we've got another video. Okay, so that was inclusive marketing. Thematic marketing. In a nutshell, thematic advertising focuses on disability itself and is usually conveying an explicit message or comment about disability. Thematic advertising can be done well and may be helpful in showcasing products or services specific to a disability. So let's hope this video plays. Doesn't look like it, does it? Strange. Okay, not sure what's going on there. But anyway, the thematic marketing video is really talking about this. Forest Personnel have made this video. They are directing their video at people with disability and impairment, and they're showing how to get their message across by using people with a disability or impairment. Many companies, though, are reluctant to consider thematic advertising about disability, fearing that they will get it wrong or say the wrong thing and cause offence. But I'll talk a little bit more about that and what's important when you do use thematic marketing. Next, we'll talk about pride marketing. Luckily, there's no more videos, so you're not missing out on anything else. Most businesses have various disability-related policies and procedures in place. Things like accepting the companion card and offering additional help for people who cannot fill out forms, and much more. These are amazing initiatives and would sway a potential customer with a disability to use your business. The problem is no one knows about it. By showing pride in your measures, celebrating any changes within your business, and acknowledging the shortcomings will demonstrate awareness of these issues. This newspaper clipping has done just that. The beach in Geraldton has a new path which is accessible for people in wheelchairs to now get down to the beach. So if they didn't advertise it, if they didn't put it in the newspaper and tell people about it, no one would know about it. So Just the same with you guys. If you've done something within your business that's made your business more accessible or inclusive, advertise it. Use it to get customers to come in, because we all want to know those changes, and you'll make someone's day. Okay, so, yep, has an issue come to your attention? Just think about the progress and the things that can be done to benefit people with impairment and disability within your business. Okay, let's go over the diverse marketing pitfalls. So things to just be aware of when you are using thematic or inclusive marketing. Ads involving people with impairment should always be consulted with people in consultation with the person with an impairment. This will ensure that the message will be consistent with the intent. Use people with actual impairments. Hello. Sorry, my dog's in here now. Use people with actual impairments and not actors pretending to have them. You may not be able to tell the difference, but the targeted audience can, and this will do more harm than good. Don't use them in an inspiring context. Just use them. They are just normal people using your business, and that is what the Malteser ad and inclusive marketing tells us. That, you know, no matter your appearance or your disability, we're all just sitting here enjoying the same thing, and we're all equal and just a normal person using your business. There should be no difference. Right, so that is webinar part 4 tonight. Sorry, it was a bit of a mess if you ask me. My children need to go to bed. Dad isn't home yet, so I need to go and sort them out. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I will be back in the office tomorrow morning to do tapping in part 5, so please join me for that. We are going over tourism and events in the southwest, and then we will be doing part 6 on Tuesday next week. So if you have any questions, please jump onto the open forum, which I will be doing now. Send me a message if you have any questions, but if you do have to go, please get onto our website and fill out the survey. So look for survey tapping in part 4 and fill out the survey. But if you have any questions, please send them over to me now. If you have to go, thanks for coming. See ya. I'll see the rest of you soon. Welcome back. There are no questions tonight, which is fine. You guys can now go and have some dinner. I will now go and sort out my children. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow morning for Tapping In Part 5. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.